Leadership and organisational culture. Part A. Discuss the importance of leadership in defining and managing organisational culture. Shine defines the culture of an organisation as a pattern of shared basic assumptions that the group learned as it solved its problems of external adaptation and internal integration, which has worked well enough to be considered valid and, therefore, to be taught to new members as the correct way to perceive, think and feel in relation to those problems. An organisation's culture may be influenced by a number of factors. The national culture where the organisation is located, or even the prevailing culture in its home region. The founders of the organisation, particularly if it is fairly new, the values and approaches of the founders may still be pervasive. The history of the organisation, for example, one which has grown organically using its own resources, is more likely to have a distinctive culture than one which has grown by acquisition and has had to absorb other cultures. The style of current leaders will have an impact. For example, an autocratic style may encourage a compliance culture. Organisational structure can affect culture. Organisations sometimes restructure as a way of trying to change their culture. There is no best culture for organisations. However, successful organisations generally align their culture with their strategy as closely as possible. The connections between culture, leadership and strategy are therefore evident. Part B. Advise on the style of leadership appropriate to manage strategic change. Leadership is the process of influencing an organisation or group within an organisation in its efforts to achieve an aim or goal. Broadly, leadership has two styles: charismatic and transactional leadership. Charismatic leadership energizes the people and builds the vision of the future. Change management is an integral part of this leadership approach. It is also known as transformational leadership. Transactional leadership focuses on systems and controls and normally looks for improvement rather than change. This approach is also called instrumental leadership. Charismatic leadership is an appropriate leadership style to manage strategic changes, since change management is an integral part of their leadership approach. The next 5 styles of change management may be helpful for them while handling the strategic changes. Education and communication, explaining in detail why change is necessary to win people around. Collaboration and participation, bringing people affected by change into the process of managing it. Intervention, change is led by a change agent who will delegate some tasks to project teams. The idea is that the involvement of those teams will lead to a greater commitment from them. Direction, management use their authority to establish their strategy and how the change will occur in a top-down fashion. Coercion, an extreme form of direction. Change is simply imposed by management. Part C. Analyze the culture of an organisation using the cultural web to recommend suitable changes. Proposed by Johnson in 1992, the cultural web is a tool that compares different assumptions, centralised into a paradigm, of an organisation's culture against the physical manifestations of that culture. The cultural web plays a vital role in comprehending the organisation's culture, which is very tough to evaluate, manage or change. The different paradigms which are needed to be analysed to understand the culture of an organisation are as follows. Control systems measures how much control has been applied to various processes by an organisation. For example, are employees rewarded or punished for performance? Routines and rituals are the protocols followed by the members while performing day-to-day operations, such as what do employees expect when they arrive each day. Organisational structure examined the formal and informal relationships as well as routes of power and influence. For example, what are the official lines of authority? Symbols are a tangible representation of an organisation, which can include logos, office layouts, titles, and uniforms. Power structures evaluate the power balance between a diverse hierarchy level, as in who holds more power, owner or employees. Stories and myths appraise how an organisation understands and represents itself to outsiders and newcomers, such as the story behind the foundation of the organisation or the expansion of the organisation. Part D. Assess the impact of culture and ethics on organisational purpose and strategy. Ethics can be summarised as rules and principles of behaviour which helps us decide between right and wrong. Culture can be described as the way we do things around here, which have an impact both on visible aspects such as goals, policies and terminology, and on less visible aspects such as beliefs, values and norms. The strategy is the long-term direction of an organisation, which is long-term in nature and provides the strategic direction to the organisation. Culture and ethics impacts greatly the organisational purpose and strategy, since both of these attributes are core to organisational policies. Culture, as we know, shapes the surroundings in and around the organisation and eventually sets the tone of the organisation's purpose and strategy. Ethical leadership will always promote to be inclusive and fair to each stakeholder. They will encourage accountability, integrity, honesty, loyalty, and many other key factors.